The oil and gas industry has become one of the most essential sectors to meet global energy demands. To address this demand, many oil and gas companies engage in offshore oil drilling, and offshore oil rigs play a crucial role in extracting crude oil. The oil extracted from these rigs is then shipped to various countries for further processing, resulting in billions of dollars in value. Highly trained and certified professionals are required to conduct offshore oil drilling. Despite being considered professionals, workers on offshore oil rigs undergo continuous training, especially in safety procedures. This is because working on offshore oil rigs comes with significant risks, including high sea waves, unpredictable weather, technical errors that can lead to fires and environmental damage, and even loss of life. To ensure the safety of their workers, offshore oil rigs are equipped with fire control rooms. All workers on offshore oil rigs are required to undergo training in the use of firefighting equipment, which can be crucial in saving lives in case of a fire incident. In addition to the fire control rooms, offshore rigs also have safety facilities like lifeboats that can be quickly deployed into the sea if needed. Small boats and crew boats are also used to transport workers from the shore to the offshore oil rig. However, adverse weather conditions can sometimes disrupt these journeys and pose risks to the workers. Therefore, helicopters that can withstand rough weather conditions are also used. And offshore oil rigs provide facilities such as helipads for helicopter landings. Typically, each offshore oil rig employs between 50 and 200 workers, both male and female. When they start their assignments, they are provided with work uniforms, safety glasses, helmets, layered clothing, and steel-toed boots. They work in 12-hour shifts. To make the workers feel comfortable while on duty, offshore oil rigs provide various facilities to meet their needs, including recreation rooms, cinemas, and gyms. These recreational facilities, along with the camaraderie of co-workers, help alleviate the loneliness that workers may feel when they are far from their families and close friends. Inside the offshore oil rigs, there are also laundry facilities to ensure that their clothes remain clean and fresh. When they get hungry, there is a dedicated kitchen that provides a variety of food, beverages, and snacks, along with a communal dining area. If they need to rest and relax, the crew can sleep in cabins with bunk beds and ensuite bathrooms. In case of work accidents or illness, offshore oil rigs have healthcare units managed by medical staff. These units are equipped with various medical devices and a full range of medications. The medical staff on offshore oil rigs typically work in 12-hour shifts and are always on standby. They return to the mainland every 2 weeks for a change of duty. There are various positions on offshore oil rigs, including managers, engineers, chefs, medical staff, roustabouts, floormen, roughnecks, derrickmen, OM, offshore installation manager, and many more. Roustabout is an entry-level position for workers with minimal experience on offshore oil rigs. They are not yet familiar with equipment functions, usage, and potential hazards, and they are considered to be in a training phase. Above the roustabout position, there is the floorman or drilling floor operator who assists the driller in rig floor operations during pipe connections or disconnections. They are expected to understand the steps of the work and the use of equipment. Next, there is the derrickman or derrick hand who assists the driller in stacking drilling pipes on the monkey board above the drilling tower. They also monitor mud viscosity and density while adding chemicals and oil-based fluids. Above the derrickman is the assistant driller position, which is responsible for drilling rig operations. In the well servicing part of the rig, there is no specific position due to the less crowded nature of the work. Among all the positions mentioned, one of the most critical roles on an offshore oil rig is the Offshore Installation Manager, OIAM. An OIAM is responsible for overseeing all offshore activities on the oil rig, including maintenance, drilling processes, project work, and training. OIMs are trained to handle emergencies and ensure the overall well-being, health, and safety of the crew. The demanding nature of work on offshore oil rigs, coupled with the inherent risks involved, commands substantial compensation, typically far exceeding the average industry wages. Recent data indicates a considerable increase in earnings for these positions. As of 2023, the average salary for offshore oil rig workers is approximately $73,929, with a considerable range depending on the specific role, location, and the worker's experience. In a more general context, the median salary for offshore workers in the United States is around $70,955 per year with total compensation, including additional pay, averaging at $78,266 annually. Additionally, for oil rig positions specifically, the median salary is now around $79,544 per year with total compensation, including additional pay reaching $85,055 annually. Hourly rates for oil rig workers vary, with the average wage being $21.32 per hour. These figures represent a significant increase from the earlier reported earnings of $31,770 per year for a roustabout and $51,980 for a drilling position in 2010. The shift in wages over the years reflects the evolving demands and economic factors influencing the oil industry. The first offshore oil drilling activity took place in the Gulf of Mexico. After that, various oil and gas companies began offshore drilling in regions such as the waters off Scotland to the North Sea. One of the largest offshore oil rigs in the world is the Goliat field, located off the northern coast of Norway. The Goliat field was initially constructed in 2009 and began operating in 2017. The field's license is held by an operator called 𝗤𝗿𝗄𝗃 AS with 65% and Equinor ASA with 35%. The Goliat field includes production, storage, and offloading facilities in the form of a floating production storage and offloading FPSO vessel called 7 1000 FPSO and 8 subsea templates with a total of 32 wells. This offshore oil rig can produce 174 million barrels of crude oil, requiring extensive extraction processes. To facilitate this, 𝗤𝗿𝗄𝗃 created the Goliat FPSO project. The massive crude oil drilling has a hole diameter of 270 feet, a storage capacity of 950,000 barrels of oil, and accommodates a staff of over 120 full-time workers. Despite operating in the Arctic region, the construction of the Goliat field platform was carried out at the Hyundai factory in South Korea. To transport it to Norway, it had to travel over 16,000 miles across the seas. The offshore oil rig was transported by the world's largest heavy-lift ship, the 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗃 Vanguard. Several tugboats were also used to bring the platform to the ship and slowly pull it out to sea. The 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗃 Vanguard would then flood its tanks, causing the platform to sink about 30 meters. Once ready, they would empty the tanks and Goliat would be ready for transport. The journey of the Goliat platform from South Korea to northern Norway took up to 63 days. Unlike land-based oil companies that can expand their wells as needed, offshore oil rigs require prior knowledge of the size and type of rig needed before drilling. There are several types of offshore oil rigs. Those built on shallow sea rafts, floating freely and only tethered to the seabed, and those installed on ships or barges. These types of oil rigs can easily move from one drilling point to another if a well dries up. There are several reasons why the demand for the construction of offshore oil rigs remains high to this day. 1. Abundant oil resources. The abundance of oil resources on Earth has led many oil companies to build oil rigs both on land and at sea. Additionally, most of the world's population relies on oil-based transportation, including cars, motorcycles, buses, airplanes, and ships. 2. Continued dependence on fossil fuels. Despite efforts to transition to renewable energy sources like electricity, the world still relies on fossil fuels such as oil and natural gas. Population growth and industrialization continue to increase, resulting in a growing demand for oil and natural gas for decades to come. 3. Advancements in oil and gas technology. As technology in drilling and oil extraction continues to advance, offshore drilling activities have become more efficient and in-depth. This has made it easier to access oil-producing regions that were previously challenging to reach. 4. Largest oil reserves are offshore. Compared to land-based oil reserves, the world's largest oil reserves are located under the seabed. This is one of the major reasons why more companies are building offshore oil rigs. Another reason why oil companies prefer to build offshore oil rigs is the potential environmental impact of land-based drilling. Land-based oil drilling operations require large amounts of land and can worsen conditions, especially in areas with growing human populations. Moreover, the risk of oil spills or leaks can potentially contaminate freshwater sources and pose health hazards to nearby communities. After land-based oil drilling projects are completed, the wells must be dismantled and sealed, incurring significant costs. Therefore, building offshore oil rigs is a strategic decision for oil and gas companies. They do not need to encroach on land designated for other industries or residential areas. Specialized technology has been developed to prevent unintended oil leaks or explosions on these facilities, eliminating the possibility of water contamination.